So tonight's topic again, managing career transitions, utilizing your network and resources to discover job opportunities. So I will be your moderator for tonight, but our main speaker, and who we are gracious to have here tonight, is Blazine Monaco of Charity Moves. So Blazine is the president of this organization, and will be giving our presentation for tonight. So welcome, Blazine.
Thank you. Good to share my screen.
Yes.
Okay. You can see the PowerPoint currently.
I am not seeing it, Blazine.
No. Try this again. All right. Now, can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right, very good. So you will see my name and contact information in the upper right corner. Is any part of the vision this blocked my screen, or can you see the whole screen?
I can see the full screen. I do have a speaker view, but outside of that, nope, I can see everything.
Okay, so I encourage you to use the email address. We really I didn't have a idea, or survey of where you are in your career or what specific information you would be looking for. So I'm open to providing you additional information or, just using for feedback. I put this list of, these are accolades that were accumulated during, my core background was in healthcare marketing and graphics, and I left that job at the age of 23 to start my own business, which was in marketing. But when I founded the Littlest Heroes organization, which is a nonprofit for pediatric cancer patients in Cleveland, and I put this list of accolades there because there's not one of them that wasn't achieved solely because of networking. I started that nonprofit organization without any nonprofit experience, without a dollar, and without one prominent contact to begin. And all this shows is what can be accomplished because of networking. And I have to be honest, it probably was one of my least favorite things to do, was just to put myself out there and take time for meetings and going to different places. But it really was remarkable to watch something grow from a vision, and just to see the giving and the charity that was created in a period. My period there was 10 years. And then when I left there, every single position I've held afterwards has been because of networking. What I'm doing now is grant writing and nonprofit business development services. So, script that. Let's get to the next screen. Okay, so before I talk about networking, I have to cover these 4 topics, and I would just say, take these 4 things and really work to develop them in your own life, because whether you realize it or not, you reflect these aspects of what your beliefs are in how you present yourself, in the information, how you present your nonprofit beliefs, and the value you're bringing to somebody else. It's also what people kind of read in between the lines and how you are perceived by others. So if you take your gifts and genuinely appreciate the fact that in a world with a population of 7.8 billion, you are the only one who delivers your skills with the same approach you do, or approach a task or a challenge or perform your job in the way you do. And you really have to tune into yourself to identify, what is that you're bringing on top of your skills, because if you can't communicate that, how is somebody else going to see that when you're, in your job search and your position? This is really important to me because you've selected a career path that I believe just puts you so far above people twice or maybe three times your age, and sometimes in nonprofit we don't realize the impact that we have. There's over 80% of people share on their bucket list that their desire is to make a difference in somebody's life or make a difference in their community, and you are doing that now, or you're working to do that now. And the other thing that I really I wasn't aware of until after maybe, I'd say 15, 20 years, the youth that are around you, you are modeling behavior that I've just seen kids in my family and kids that were exposed to the nonprofit sector learn about it and get involved later in life. So just realize the impact of your position and where you are. The third is looking at philanthropy. We choose nonprofits sometimes because we've been affected by something, or, we see a need in the community, and maybe it's just where your heart is. A lot of people get involved because of personal experiences or watching loved ones go through. At some point in every single person's life, they are going to be to a point where they seek that same fulfillment, okay, because of their circumstances. So there's nothing that brings the fulfillment of working in a nonprofit or volunteering or contributing to make someone's life better or a community better. So it's just amazing to watch people who have gone through their whole life never finding this. And if you can realize that you, as a connector of bringing people who want to find a cause to the cause that matches their heart, even if it's not your own, that is such a gift. I never realized until, there's people who look at volunteering and donating to nonprofit organizations as begging for donations and have that attitude. That just means they're not in the right place of their life to be introduced to charitable giving, because I will tell you that the people who donated and volunteered would actually be thanking me to donate money to the nonprofit or for volunteering, because they need that gift of giving back. So that's a whole nother lengthy subject, but I do want to be sure that, that nonprofit sector, we really do have a gift, and your role is really special in the communities and to people you cross paths with. And the in-between times, I've never mastered this or been able to, but when we have downtimes in between jobs, or maybe we're in a job that is not as fulfilling as we like it to be, I would just say I can look back now and say that every single one of them served a unique purpose. And to use those times, take that task and over-deliver or bring yourself into it, or use those times to build the relationships you need to. And I say that laughing because, you can't help but panic when things are out of the order of what you expect or where you want them to be, especially these past several months. But if you can work on these core beliefs and bring them into what you're doing, I think it's reflected in everything we do. I'm sure you all know your career goals and where you want to be, but I say before we look at networking, you have to know what you're really looking for and know where you want to be in 1, 3, and 5 years. And because that's always going to possibly be adjusting, you know what, take your passion. And I guess for what I want to look at this like is, for a moment, we look through jobs that are offered and we look at their job titles and we're looking through these descriptions, but those are the descriptions that the company needs. I mean, make your own description of your genuine dream job. The passion, what makes you move and motivates you to, to be more active than something else. Take your skills and your unique value, and also write the things that you don't want to do and that you really don't like. We're not always going to have a choice of doing things that we don't enjoy, but as you develop your career, you will have options. And there is, I used to do so many things that they weren't really in my field house of talents, but I do them because, one, I wanted to learn the process to be able to at least have an understanding. But at some point, there are people that love to do that part of the job, and that's what they should be doing. And you should be, zoned in right where you want to be. So at least just have in mind what you're looking for. In your networking preparation, I know some of this is common knowledge, but there's such a broad range of how people keep their contacts together and if they really organize them in a way. So I'm going to touch on this, but not focus on it. But the ideal is to have all your contacts set up specifically for networking. And there's so many different aspects of technology, and the options are as broad as preferences, but it's really whatever's going to work best for you. This is always piecemeal because so much is developing so quickly. So you can take your LinkedIn and, you can import Google there, Google contacts into LinkedIn, Facebook contacts can be exported to Yahoo. Where's your personal, contacts, your school alumni contacts? You're going to be grouping them together by your relationships, or they should be. And again, this is something I would have liked to know before, but you can talk about this after in the question time. If this isn't in place, you're going to spend more time gathering your contacts than communicating. And what you want to do is have them prepared so that you can schedule communications on a regular basis. And the type of communications, and according to the type of communications you're going to be providing. Now, I want to also say this, the ideal, wouldn't it be nice if you were contacted before the job hits the public? That's the end goal of networking. And while some of these items require long-term thinking, you can begin to implement that now, and I can guarantee you will have results in the future. If we look at the first item, people, when you're seeking jobs, we almost always have the mindset like, hey, I got to tell them what I'm doing and what I'm good at in whatever conversations. Hey, I'm looking for a job. This is what I do. You have to reverse it a little and, really be interested in others first. If your conversations are based on listening, you are going to be better prepared to make every word you say matter, and you could tailor what you have so that they're going to remember it better. Human nature is just, when somebody's talking about their own situation, it's almost like before they even finish, our minds work like, hey, they're telling you about a loss and you're thinking about, oh, well, I experienced that. It's almost like we speak sometimes before they even finish. And if we really listen into and ask what people are looking for, what they're needing, and you are the person that connects them with somebody who can help them now or provide some kind of direction, you really want to come with the mindset of what can you offer before it's like, what do I need? What do I need? So in a position where you want to develop awareness of yourself, there are so many ways to do this that I think sometimes we just don't think what we have in the power we have in our control. I mentioned, be interested in others, continually bring value to other people. When you help somebody advance their initiatives with no other intent but to help them, down the road that comes back. And this isn't that you're intentionally giving somebody something so you want it in return. You really need to develop the mindset of helping people achieve their goals. It opens up conversations that you would never have, and it just brings a whole new perspective to your career. I can't tell you how many people I hired throughout the course of my 10 years there, because they were volunteers first, or they were offering interim help. I know that's not always the ideal, but it's also a good way sometimes for you to learn about a company and find out if your perception about that company is exactly what it is. I don't know how many times I've had a different perception of a person or a company, and then once I was actually in that position, went, wow, I learned quite a bit. You can get your name so it's associated as a leader in whatever you're doing. You can create articles, create content, publish articles and posts where people that you want to look at you and become, make your name synonymous with nonprofit and service or whatever your goals are. You can be doing that on LinkedIn and your own social media, and so simply. You can also, right now, if you're in between jobs, or even when you are, people like to be interviewed. I mean, people enjoy sharing knowledge. So you approaching people that have an interesting subject and documenting or taping that interview and submitting it somewhere, or even just posting it, that's a good way to open doors. And if you really do your research on different companies or organizations and talk to people and ask them about, what are the challenges? This is a great time to find out, what challenges are you facing, and what might what can you do to help them solve that problem? Or you might know somebody in your network that it'll take you 1 minute, but that person will remember it a lifetime. So, establishing your, network structure is real similar to a LinkedIn structure, but with a different mindset, because you should have pulled all your contacts together for this tier 1. So, these are the people, you see a job posting, you'd pick up the phone and say, hey, I saw this job posting, here's my resume, or who do you know? And you have no apprehension. So I'm sure and there's family and friends. I look at this tier 1 and I think, boy, I failed so many times to use this tier 1. I look at my own family. I don't know what my extended cousins do. I don't know where they're positioned. I don't know where my best friends' families are. Those are conversations that you can have so easily and extend that network and open doors. If one of my family members makes an introduction, I'm gonna take that time instantly. So look at what is untapped in this first level, and it's almost unlimited, where just this is your strongest area. I've worked with so many nonprofits, and they'd have this contact list of 5,000 to 10,000 people. And they were still bringing in, efforts and marketing efforts to bring in more people and bring in more support. And it's like, you have your gold mine right here. This is the biggest source for everything that you need. So just pay attention to the people here and how you can extend this first here. The second tier, you know, just take your networks, take your relationships and segment them. Go, yeah, this next tier, I'm comfortable saying hi, but you know, if a job posted and it said, don't call and don't, I probably wouldn't call them to find out what's going on. You wouldn't be so comfortable. So what you want to do with these second tier, you want to constantly move these tiers. You want to work on these second tiers so you're as comfortable with them as, not so that they're your best friends or family, but you're as comfortable communicating with them. So how do you reach out to these people? These are people that you can do your research, see if there's any published needs that their company or they personally are currently experiencing, try to find common ground. This is a one good points on here that you might want to consider if you haven't heard, is just an informational interview where these are people, they probably know your name and would recognize it and would be open for an informational interview. And what you do is just ask for, you say right up front, I would like to gather information from you about your company or about your career and how you, you know, got from where your position is. And I am not looking for a job, but I'm looking for information, and tell them your position. I mean, people will share information. You know, when you have an animal in their Zoom meetings, it just never fails that they're going to interrupt it. So I have a dog I'm going to let out, and give me 1 minute, please. I apologize. It's funny because I just went through this with somebody else and said, how could they let that dog just keep doing that? But anyway, okay, so as far as reaching out, so there's an informational interview. The posting, you know, on LinkedIn and that, creating content so that they are more open to meeting with you if they see your name. And on this tier 2, I'd say also look at the for-profit companies in their community relations departments and in their charitable giving departments. It's an easy ask to meet with them and just learn how they interact with nonprofits, because I am still learning. I will say that out of every single company, for-profit company, works in a different manner, has different departments that manage their charitable giving, that gives grants. So there's that for-profit aspect of pulling people into your network is really important. We sometimes overlook that even the smallest businesses give to charities and deal with nonprofits. And it isn't so much that you know, you're building relationships with them, but they know a lot of people. The other thing, this is funny because I would never think of people, let's say in a hairdresser. Hairdressers probably have the more contacts than anybody I know. I've never seen anything like it across the board, every profession. So just, you know, I would say broaden your, where you're looking for to pull people into your network and how you're going to communicate with them. Your tier 3, again, you're going to use the same tactics as mentioned before by making yourself known. You know, people we don't even know, there's so many creative ways. And I think what following this, and after I gather some information from you who are in attendance, I can put together a really solid list of ways to open doors for all of these different tiers. Companies are usually very open to participating, have their employees participating in surveys. There's just a lot of different ways that you probably wouldn't think of doing, you know, right off the bat. Nonprofit organizations, if you can find a marketing opportunity for them where you are part of linking that, increased awareness of their nonprofit. That's also a good way to open a door to talk to somebody. This is where you also want to do your research of your specific area, where you want to be in the future. And you're never going to, there is no one that is not eventually unreachable. And you just have to make it strategic. So you're beginning the process now. Send newsletters. It's really funny right now, probably would have never thought of how many letters or cards I've mailed, because everyone is so inundated electronically. To get something in the mail right now is very different. I think, and I've also, there were somewhere along the line, I was told by, I think it was Mark Shapiro from Cleveland Indians, when he was the manager, he said there's nothing more effective than getting a handwritten note after an interview or after his involvement in a charity. And some things just stick with you, anything you can do outside of the norm that makes somebody pay attention is really important. I also wanted to mention, I'm talking about all these networking things, but there's a couple stories of people I've met along the way of how they landed their job careers that have nothing to do with networking. And one of those is Bobby DiBiasio from the Cleveland Indians as well. He's the head of the community relations department for 40 years, but he was also the head of Cleveland Indians charities. Before they recently, I think they hired a director for the charities division about 4 or 5 years ago. I actually asked him to join tonight to share his stories, because it is just that amazing of how he landed that position. And he isn't available because the Indians are in the wild card in New York tonight, but he is willing to present and to have a question and answer. So Miranda and Jason, if you have another part of this, that we can arrange that, and I'll touch base with after you. But I would encourage all of you to listen in on that, because his story is just one of persistence and has nothing to do with networking, but that is outside the norm. So your network tools and maintenance, we have all these contacts. I think the biggest mistake people make is just not communicating with them on a regular basis. You cannot expect activity to happen if you only talk to people, randomly and not intentionally once or twice a year. You want to keep these communications and build your relationships so that in down times, it isn't like you're reaching for straws. And you want to constantly add people to your network, and the ways, I'm sure, to do that, and constantly move people up the pipeline in your in your network. I'm just going to go on these action items on developing your core beliefs. I can't share how important that is. If you look at how much negativity we're surrounded in a day, and if you look at also, I look at almost on a daily basis, I say, who am I surrounding myself by, and what is the percentage of my day that I'm hearing positive and I'm hearing negative? And what is the percentage of the people around me that are encouraging me and discouraging me? And who am I surrounding myself around career-wise? You want to raise your bar. You want to surround yourself with people that just motivate you to do better. So I'd say develop those core beliefs, those core values, I should say. Identify the dream job, establishing your networking, and make the scheduled times that you're going to communicate them and how. I didn't mention, there's so many ways of communication. I literally ask just about every person what is your preference? Do you prefer a phone call? Do you prefer, email? People are just inundated and everyone is so different. It's important to ask them, how do they want to be communicated with? And, it's a lot of work, but that's what pays off. That's what pays off with networking and bringing value. You have to know what you're bringing to other people and also switch the mindset. Even in the down times is, hey, what can I do for somebody else? Because people remember that. I want to mention too, there's so many, I'll try to compile a list of some of the better networking events that I've been to and things with really positive results. But I'll tell you one thing, here's two things actually. Let me see if, oops, okay. I don't know if anybody's heard of Tony Robbins. I'm sure people have heard about him, but he holds these seminars across actually the world called Unleash the Power Within, and they usually cost $3,500 a person to attend, which is one of the reasons I never did. But because of COVID, he actually went to Zoom and they created this platform where he can have 25,000 people participate. And I participated in the first, it's called upw.com. It was held a few months ago. It was, excuse me, one more minute. Thank you. It was held for 3 consecutive days, 10 hours. And I was thinking, how could I possibly sit and watch a screen 10 hours a day? I didn't want to leave. I didn't move. It was a reset button for every area of life. And I would just encourage you to consider doing this. The next one's in November. And they have prices of $350 a person up to, I think, $3,000 or so. You can actually, even if that's high on people's price, I'd say get a few people together and, chip in and make it an event. I can't say enough about what is covered in this. And it really, at the heart of it, are the core, it's a core belief of charity and giving and just sharing what your gifts are with the world. It's really powerful. And there's another one in Cleveland, and this is really for women that, sorry guys, but this is a great event. This is the first virtual one, but there's the people who are here are just really impactful, and it's a group of women that they're just powerhouses and they know the power of networking. In fact, this was created for that. I don't know if you can see this, but the website is fescleveland.com. And that's it.
Thank you, Blazine. I appreciate you sharing.